We had already started with chapter 6, how do organisms reproduce. Now, in continuation with this, in the last class, I told you about budding in Hydra. Now we'll start from that same topic, budding in Hydra and as well as budding in yeast. So just have a look over here on the board. Now budding in Hydra. Budding in Hydra. Hydra is what? It is a multicellular organism. So when we talk about Hydra, that is, it is fixed to the base and it has finger-like projections. These projections are called as tentacles. These are tentacles, and from this region it is attached to the base, or we call it as substratum. So what happens in Hydra, that any cell from the Hydra body, it becomes active. Any cell becomes active and divide repeatedly and form a small protuberance or an outgrowth, which is called as the bud. That means the cell becomes active, divides multiple times and it forms the bud. Okay. Now this bud is what? It has mass of undifferentiated cells. Mass of undifferentiated cells. Okay. And afterwards, what will happen when the number and the size of the cell increases, then this mass of undifferentiated cells, it starts differentiating. So it's differentiate and develop into a baby Hydra. Baby Hydra, which is attached to the parent body. If I draw it over here, then it will appear to be look like this is the baby Hydra after differentiation, and then when it is attached to the parent body, then that time it is taking the food from the parent body, and when it is self-sufficient to take its nutrition from the external environment, then these cells from the parent body, that means this gets separates or it detaches from the parent body, then reaches to the substratum at the base and then behave as a separate organism or separate individual, and it take its own nutrition and it develop. So this is what the number increases, so we say it is the mode of reproduction, and this mode of reproduction in Hydra is budding. Now next we talk about the yeast. This Hydra is multicellular, and when we talk about yeast, yeast is unicellular. Okay. So in this, what is budding in yeast? So what will happen? This is unicellular structure of yeast. This is the nucleus. When the cell size, this is yeast cell. When the cell size is fully grown up, at that time, this small protuberance occurs from the cell cytoplasm. It protrudes out and form a small bud. Then nucleus also gets separated and a part of the nucleus enters into the bud region. Now then there is a formation of a partition wall, cell membrane. In this way, then this bud, it starts growth and it attain its full size. Then it again will develop a small bud. Okay. Then afterward this bud will regain its original size. And in this way, a long chain of bud or yeast cells are formed, in which one yeast cell is connected with the other yeast cell in a chain form. These are not separated, but afterwards these get separated. Okay, so here we say that in unicellular organism, the single cell forms the bud. When we talk about Hydra is a multicellular organism which is attached to the base, and over there a bud is formed. But after differentiation, that organism, that baby organism, it separates from the parent and it behaves as an individual organism. So that is about the budding. Now next we talk about is regeneration. For regeneration, we have an example of planaria. Planaria is also a multicellular organism, and it is also an aquatic organism like Hydra. So what has happened in this? If I draw the diagram of planaria, this is the diagram of planaria. So what will happen if this planaria organism is divided, or due to any accident, if it gets divided into 2 parts, 3 parts, 5 parts, whatever, how many number of parts we can do it. Okay, so if here I had drawn first, second and 3. So I had made this 3 partition. Okay, so now if this organism is divided into 3 parts, then what will happen? See here at the cut region, if I talk about this portion. So when I am talking about the first part. So what will happen? When this planaria is cut in this plane and this portion is there, so the cells which are present over here, they get specialized, they develop, undergo specialization and these cells are called as regenerating cells. Regenerating cells. These cells get divide and form number of cells. These cells divide and form a number of cells which further form the organism body, the remaining or the lost part of the organism body. So in this manner, what will happen? The complete organism is formed. So these cells which get specialized to form the remaining part of the organism body are called as regenerating cells, and the process is called as regeneration. So this is about the first part. When we talk about the second part, the same thing happened. The second part will have regenerating cells on both the sides. So the upper portion will also be developed as well as the lower portion is also developed. So from this you can see that if 3 parts are there, then we can have 3 organisms. In this organism, each and every part will develop into a new organism. Similarly, I can give you an example of lizard tail. You all had seen when the tail of lizard is cut, then afterwards what will happen? After few days, that lizard will have another tail. That means regenerating cells are present over here which are responsible for formation of tail, but tail cannot form the complete organism. Okay, so regeneration capability of the cell is to form only the tail region but not the complete lizard. But in here, when we are talking about planaria, in planaria the complete organism body can form the remaining part of the body. So that is about the regeneration. Now we come to the next topic, that is spore formation. Next topic is spore formation. So spore formation is mainly found in fungus. Fungus, the example we can take is the bread mold. Simple example, that is bread mold. When the bread is moisturized or it is kept in a moist place, then there is small black, green color structures develop on the bread. So that is what it is, fungus. Even you have seen the white color structures present on the upper surface of pickles in during the rainy season. So this fungus is there, and when we are talking about the bread mold, simple, another scientific name of bread mold is Rhizopus. The name is Rhizopus. Okay. Now what is the structure of Rhizopus? So just have a look over here. So this is the diagram I have drawn. This is called as this above part, bulb-like structure. It is called as the sporangia, or we call it as the fruiting body. Fruiting body. This portion, long thread-like filament structure, is called as hyphae. And this network of hyphae, this is the network of hyphae, means hyphae elongate and form network or interconnection structure. This is called as mycelium. Now what happened in this? This is also a multicellular organism. Fungus is also a multicellular organism, and this upper body surface, which is called as the sporangia or fruiting body, it undergoes repeated division and forms many unicellular structures inside it. Sporangia, it undergo division and form many unicellular structures. These are unicellular structures and are called as spores. These are called as spores, and these are present in the sporangia. When sporangia becomes mature, then the wall of the sporangia, it breaks and all the spores are released in the environment. But according to the environmental conditions, if the environmental condition is favorable, then these spores, they reach to the bottom at the base. They get the proper environmental conditions. Then these spores germinate and develop another organism. But in case if the environmental condition is harsh and the organism does not get the favorable environment, then what will happen? See, here is the spore. I am drawing the diagram. This is the spore. Okay, an unfavorable condition is there, though it has been released from the sporangia. It is released from the sporangia, and now what will happen? So what will happen? This sporangial wall, according to the climatic conditions, if the environmental condition is harsh and unfavorable, it forms 3-layered covering around it. So in this way, the thickness of the wall, it increases, and this 3-layered covering is there, which protects the internal cellular structure from the external unfavorable conditions, and this wall structure is called as cyst. This spore remains remains in the cyst condition until the favorable conditions arrives. When favorable conditions arrives, then the cyst, it get break and the spore germinate to form the new organism. Okay, so here is this. In spore formation, sporangia is the fruiting body of fungus. Example, we have taken bread mold, Rhizopus. Rhizopus is the second scientific name and bread mold is the common name. So this is having the sporangia, also called as the fruiting body. Sporangia, then the filamentous structure called as hyphae, and hyphae get turned into a network structure called as the mycelium. Now when sporangia is, this complete organism is multicellular, and the sporangia, it divides repeatedly to form many unicellular structures inside it, and these structures are called as spores. These spores are released when sporangia becomes mature, and when these spores are released, they reach to the substratum or at the base where they get the complete moisture. And if the favorable conditions are there, then sporangia germinate and develop into the new organism. But if the favorable conditions are not there, then there is formation of cyst, that is formation of protective layers. 3-layered protective covering is formed around the spore, which is called as cyst, and spores remain in this cyst condition till the unfavorable conditions goes off or till the favorable conditions arise. When favorable conditions arise, then cysts break and spores germinate to form a new organism. So this is another mode of asexual reproduction. Now we go further for the next one, that is vegetative propagation. Next topic is another mode of asexual reproduction is vegetative propagation. This is usually seen in plants. When we are talking about the vegetative here word, it means that asexual reproduction in plants. Okay, so now in asexual reproduction in plants here means what? That any plant part, whether it is a leaf, whether it is a stem or root, has capability to develop into a new plant, then that is called as vegetative propagation. For this, we have an example of Bryophyllum leaf. Bryophyllum leaf is a fleshy leaf, succulent fleshy leaf. You might have seen this also. Okay, I am drawing the diagram of this Bryophyllum leaf, if you are able to recognize. This is a large leaf on the plant, and from these notches of this leaf, small plantlets arises. That means small plantlets with the roots arises, and these leaflets or small plants, they take the nutrition from the leaf. So here if I talk about this is a leaf, and in this leaf at the different notches many plantlets had arisen. These small plants, they develop from the notch region or from the margin of the leaf. And when these the leaf structure, we say the size of this plantlet becomes little bit more and is able to do or perform photosynthesis, then the membrane or this leaf part from which it is attached, it gets dried, and on drying these plantlets, they get separate from the main leaf, they shed off, they reach to the bottom, and these roots anchor the soil and they develop in the soil. That means they are able to take the nutrition by themselves. So in this way the number of plants has increased. This comes under vegetative propagation. Another thing is that in sugarcane, you have seen sugarcane. Sugarcane, there are nodes and internodes. I'll show you by the diagram. If I draw the diagram of sugarcane, if I say that this is the sugarcane and here is the nodal region, the strong or the hard part of the sugarcane, this is called as the node. This is also the node, and the region between the two nodes is called as internode. So what will happen, that these nodes, they develop from them, if means what the farmers did, that this sugarcane is planted in the soil, it is sown in the soil and covered with soil. Layer of soil is there. This is soil layer. Now what will happen, roots will develop as well as sugarcane develop from here. So here in this we are not using seeds. So the number of the plant is increased without using seeds. So this is called as the vegetative propagation. Another example I will show you over here is the potato. You can see this potato and these buds are here. Okay, so these buds, the region from where these buds had developed, it is called as the node, and the distance between the two buds or two nodes is called as the internode. So we say that this potato is a stem. So many buds you can see in this. So if I say that if I cut into small pieces containing one bud, one node in each part, and if I sow it in the soil, then according to the number of the nodes, I will have so many plants. That is, from single potato I am having many plants. So this is what, again, a vegetative propagation, because we are not using the seed, we are using the plant part, that is the leaf, stem or root, and this potato is a stem. Next, if I talk about another example, that is garlic. You all had seen garlic, okay? So this garlic, this is a single part, one clove of the garlic. So if I sow this also, then it will develop into a new plant. So without using the seed, we are developing the new plant, and that method is called as vegetative propagation, because here no flowering, nothing, we are not, there is no fertilization of gametes occurs. Simply we are taking a plant part, we are growing it, and the length and the size of the plant is increasing. This is very beneficial because in this the time consumption is less. The number of the plant increases, or we say the growth of the plant occurs faster than the plants which are sown from the seeds. Another example we can take, that is grafting. In rose plant, okay, so we have seen the rose stem is being cut to develop into a new plant. So when we cut the stem part of the rose, then the stem part which we had cut, it should consist of 5 to 6 nodes. Okay, so that means if I talk over here, this is the stem part and this is the nodal region, nodes, and if I sow This portion is in the soil. So what will happen? From this nodal region, roots will arise, and from this region, leaves will arise or the branches will arise, resulting in the growth of a new plant. So this is called as the cutting, stem cutting. Okay, and another is when we talk about the jasmine plant. Jasmine. Okay, so what will happen in jasmine plant if I say that this is the plant, and if a branch of this plant is pressed in the soil, then this branch containing the nodes will develop roots and it will develop into a new plant, and afterward we can cut from over here and then we have two different plants. So this method is called as layering. So in vegetative method, we are adopting this vegetative method for plants to increase the number asexually. Now next we talk about is tissue culture. Now here we are going to discuss about the last topic of asexual reproduction is tissue culture. So look over here, tissue culture means we are growing a tissue in the laboratory, and from that tissue we have millions of plants. This is all process done in the laboratory. So this is called as micropropagation. Tissue culture is also called as micropropagation. That is, it is done in a small scale. Production of plants is done in a small scale, that is called as micropropagation, and that small scale area is the laboratory. So now what is done in this tissue culture, we take a part of the plant tissue, or we say we take a plant tissue, but this tissue is to be taken from the growing part of the plant, that is the region where meristematic tissue is present. So this tissue which we have taken is what? It is a meristematic tissue. Why we have taken meristematic tissue? Because meristematic tissue does not have the stored food, and when there is no reserve food, it is not attacked by any pathogen, either virus or bacteria. So it is free from infection. So we used to prefer meristematic tissue. And second thing is that meristematic tissue has the capability to divide because it is the dividing tissue. So now what is done? We take the tissue, then it is taken from the growing tip of the plant, meristematic tissue. It should be sterilized. So if any pathogen is present outside, then that will be killed. After that, we place this tissue in the nutrient media. Nutrient media is a substance which has all the nutrients, because this tissue requires nutrients to grow, and this nutrient media has all the nutrients in the dissolved form which can be absorbed by the cells. So this is the tissue. It is the tissue which we have taken, that is meristematic tissue. It is placed in the nutrient media. Now from nutrient media, the cells of the tissue, they will take the nutrient in the dissolved form, and as a result the number and the size of the cells increases. Now here is the next step, that the cells number has increased, and due to increase in the number, a mass of undifferentiated cell is formed, and this is called as callus. Mass of undifferentiated cells which is formed from the meristematic tissue in the nutrient media is called as callus. Now this callus had undergone the process centrifugation. Means this technique, centrifugation, you have studied in your 9th standard separation techniques. So under centrifugation, what has happened? It is to be rotated at such a fast rate that all the cells separate from each other. Now here see, cells separate from each other. Now in this beaker, I had marked the cells with green and the nutrient media with the red. So when all the cells separate, they are separate from each other in the nutrient media. Now in this nutrient media, we add phytohormones, that is auxin and cytokinin. Auxin and cytokinin are responsible for the production of root and shoot. They initiate the formation of root and shoot in these cells. So when we add phytohormones, auxin and cytokinin, the formation of root and shoot occurs and each cell will develop into a new plant. So from here, few cells we have millions of plants. So this is called as tissue culture because we have taken a part of the tissue and we had cultured it in the laboratory, and at the end we have millions of plants. So in this way we can increase the number of the plants rapidly. So this is about the tissue culture, and here we have completed with the topic asexual reproduction.